And aside from this, when we do our regular sessions, we usually do an aspiration in the beginning, which I'm doing today. But the idea is this, is that a Buddhist community usually gathers to work on themselves. You know, we're here to self-improve, to be happier, to reduce the suffering in our lives. But we're not doing it only for our sake. We're doing it for the sake of the world. We're doing it so that the world can become a better place, a more peaceful place. So that's the purpose of the aspiration. We sort of try and get into the mindset and we aspire that whatever we do today will benefit others. And he decided that it would be his mission to end the suffering for all. So he practiced all kind of techniques that were the fashion at the time to try and work at himself and find a clue on how to end suffering for all. Didn't really do it, practiced asceticism, didn't work either. Then in the end, he found his own way, which he called the middle way. And the essence of the teaching is that he taught two forms of meditation. One is shamatha meditation, which is a calm, abiding meditation, or as sometimes it's called the single point of the mind or concentration meditation. And then you have vipassana meditation, which is a discursive meditation whose aim is to sort of rethink our universe, rethink our reality. And both combined, if practiced regularly, sort of flex a special muscle in us that allow us to have greater emotional and mental resilience. Buddhism is a complex subject. It takes years to really study and master, if ever. But meditation is a very simple one, and it's highly beneficial right from the very first session. So we'll get into that right. So let us start just by letting go of our thoughts of the day, letting go of our stress of daily life. Let us just disconnect by taking three deep breaths. It's going to start a 10 minutes timer, and we're going to just start scanning our body for relaxation. So bring your attention to the tip of your head and start imagining that your scalp and your head, you are relaxing everywhere, all tensions that go off. Um, Relax your eyebrows and the area around the eyes, all the eye sockets. If that tends to get very tense when we're using VR or a computer screen. So make sure that this feels completely natural, not forced.
Killer?
Relax the back of your head and the area around your ears. Then make sure that your jaw is also in a natural position. You don't need to clench your teeth. The tongue should be touching the upper palate to and pruning if you relax very well. Some air could be passing through your lips while they're touching. And then we keep on relaxing the lower part of our head, our neck. Maybe take a little breath here, exhale softly as you try and relax the rest of your spine, the area around the side, and then the belly. The role of your legs is to provide a solid platform for the rest of the body. Doesn't matter if you sit on a chair, on the ground. Right? Just make sure that you're not set in a way that your feet will go to sleep or your leg will go to sleep, and also that you don't feel off balance. And then relax your legs, so the thighs, the calves, feet, and the toes. Now we may begin our shamatha meditation. So what we have done here is that we have moved into immobility. Things are quiet around us, so we're not really using our ears all that much. We're not using our eyes all that. have reduced movement around us. So we can now start to notice subtle things about ourselves, like the heart, but also like our breath. So let us just bring our attention to the breath as it goes in and out, and no need to force it, no need to slow it or stretch it. Just notice that you're breathing. It might help you pick a point, let's say a nostril where you feel like it's getting colder as the air move in and out, or it could be in your throat or in your lung, but where you feel you're breathing the most, you can concentrate on that. Use that as the point that you will monitor for breathing. And with each breath, try deeper in relaxation. Once you're relaxed enough, you will be moving into the alpha state. That means that your brain waves have slowed down. And the alpha state is the state that you are in when you wake up in the morning or when you fall asleep at night. So you will start maybe to have vivid thoughts. That's all dreams are. Dreams are just thoughts that we see clearly because we are at night not stimulated hardly by any. That's why they manifest as images and sometimes sound. So if you have such thoughts, you will see that they might derail you from your breathing. If that's the case, just notice that you are thinking. Say to yourself, thinking, bringing back the mind to the. Our goal is to ride the breath as long as possible. If you have a itch, you're feeling emotional, notice it for what it is and come back to it. So let's do this until the bell rings, and I will explain the purpose of that afterwards. Right now, do your best. You are feeling urges to play with your controllers, to check phone. That is your normal daily mindless that you are experiencing. You are not used to calm. You are not used to peace and quiet. And so notice just how your body and your mind are fighting back this state of peace.
be quiet while the class is going on when you enter the room, and just enjoy the event.
What?
I ask you to be quiet when you enter the meditation class, and I ask you to be as respectful as you can. And that is all I ask of you. But other than that, feel free to go enjoy the meditation class.
There is meditation right now?
So if when you enter the room, or if you're going to stay, then please go join them. But if you're not going to stay, I ask you to please leave.
I'm gonna stay.
Okay. Feel free to be quiet and go into the room. I'm sure you heard what I just said, but you have to be as respectful as you can, shameless. And there should be no issue.
If the mind wanders away, bring it back to the breath. Beautiful. How do you guys feel?
Very good.
Like I'm
Very
gonna
good.
fall asleep.
Right?
I just woke up, so I was kind of easily able to get into that kind of like flow state, I guess. I don't know.
Same.
Yeah.
Same.
Yes.
I'm over
The
in
morning
California, it's like
actually
8
is one.
a.m.
Because of
Yeah.
that reason,
You
the morning is one of the best time to meditate.
you were right about the
you,
coffee. That was a bad idea.
Oh, brutal. Been
Felt a little
there.
called out when you
thing-
mentioned the mind wandering thing.
So in the morning, it's great because you are not sort of carrying the problems of the day. So you don't have to let go of anything because you sort of did that during the night. So meditation comes easier. Then you have to be careful about the other extreme, which is not falling asleep again. So if you didn't have enough, it could be that cushion feels quite a bit comfortable. But let me explain what we just did. It doesn't feel like it. People think meditation is for relaxation, which it is. It provides some relaxation. But what we just did is that we went into sensory deprivation. We removed the stimulus from the external world as much as we could. So we went into sort of that alone space with ourselves, cut from sounds and visuals and everything. And what happens is that it's just like at night when you're trying to fall asleep and something cracks in the house, and it's like you're noticing the sound 10 times louder than you would have in the day. So your senses become more acute, right? Because your entire brain can be used to process that isolated stimulus that just happened. So it's the same with meditation. What you gain is automatic insight into your inner life. And when we are on breathing and start of try to and we're trying to stick with the breath, all of a sudden when the mind wanders, we don't notice that during the day that our mind is wandering, do we? Well, sometimes we do, but it's the exception. It's not the norm. So what happens is that what you practice on meditation is noticing what's going on inside of you. So if you're about to make yourself sad, or if you're about to make yourself angry, or if you're about to be sleepy, or if you have any kind of feeling, by developing this habit of looking in constantly, you will be able to catch those emotions before they worsen, and you will be able to bring yourself back to the breath, which is another way to say that you're bringing yourself back to the peace. But it really doesn't matter what you bring yourself back to. What matters is that you're flexing this muscle of looking in and deciding the experience that you will have in life. Can you see how this can be a very useful tool?
Yes.
So it
Definitely.
doesn't come easy. You have to spend hours and hours on the cushion before it sort of becomes like an habit, and you start experiencing that while you work, while you relate with your significant other, while you're dealing with family and so on. But it does integrate with your life over time. And that's one of the techniques here for stress management. How many of you here would say that they are under stress in their life? Yeah, it's like I'd say easily half the room. Who would like to tell us about the stress that they experience? Would you like to share a little bit? Anyone? First come, first serve.
Yeah, I'll go first if no one else minds.
Go for it.
So I work a dead end day job, which is why I'm here. And when people think of stress, they think of hectic environments. They think of awful customers, awful bosses, that kind of thing. There's another kind of stress. It's a more insidious kind of stress that sets in on a job that you know you're never gonna leave. you think you're never gonna leave. It's a more insidious kind of stress that seeps in, and you don't notice it, and that's in my opinion, the worst kind of stress, because you don't notice it at first, and then 6 years of constantly being there go by, and it sets in more and more, and then the stress then turns into depression. The depression then turns into hopelessness, and that hopelessness has sort of wrecked my life for the last while. So, the that kind of stress has sort of invaded my life. So a practice like this is incredibly important, and I will be here a lot more.
That's very interesting. I was not expecting to get that take on stress like at the very first comment, but we'll get back to that in a bit for sure.
Oh,
Maybe another one would like to give us a different experience of stress in their life.
Yeah, I'll go ahead.
Yes.
So I definitely have something similar to that, where for the past close to like 5 years now, I've been working a lot of different jobs, not at the same place, but I'm definitely at a point now where I've kind of recognized the toxicity of just going to the same place and thinking that's okay. And I've kind of recently let myself recognize that it is okay to pursue something that I want to do. And so that's where, again, that is why I'm here. But just other stuff on top of that is just things with family. Someone that, I thought I really knew and that I was close with. And, a lot of things have kind of come to light based on how they treat others in my life that I care about. And kind of looking back at how they've treated me. And so kind of just having to accept that there may have been a lot of things that I may not have perceived properly. And so kind of having to come to realizations with that.
Interesting. Any of us experiencing the more classical forms of stress, like high pressure and things like that?
I have
Well,
a. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Check.
Well, my stress is regular, just job, regular stress. I'm an attorney. I work for the government, and you just get overwhelmed, and you try to survive the day, and the stress is just so many things to do. You don't get enough time, and it keeps adding up. But you try to push through it and survive day by day. So I'd say that's regular stress, not at least not as profound as the stories I've heard here, but it's just regular stress, just getting overwhelmed in jobs. That's it.
and that's perfectly
I feel
valid as
like,
well, right?
Eh?
yeah, I was
Right.
gonna say, stress
100%.
comes in all forms, and it still affects us at the end of the day.
Right.
Like,
Meaver, you
there's,
wanted to share as well. Sorry, Poke. I just wanted to make sure that he has.
oh yeah, sorry.
Uh,
Weaver.
I got injured while I was working at the current job that I work at, and the company is fighting the decision from the doctors to give me workers' comp, so I have to go into court on Friday for that.
Aw, dude, that
Decision.
sucks.
Like
I've
it's a
I've had to
decision.
deal with workers' comp. That
That's
sucks,
always
man.
tough.
So Poke, let's hear your commentary, and then just because we don't have a lot of time, I will move from there.
Yeah. Yeah, without going
We're
too
on the
deep
stress here.
into stuff, but my stress on a base level comes from, like, I've been doing a lot of like couch surfing with family and stuff, and that's been fine for a few months, but eventually the sleep deprivation adds up, right? And you're just not getting enough good sleep, and just that adds up physically. So like I'm trying to get my sleep back on track so that my stress levels go down. It's one of those basic survival needs.
So physical stress as well. All right, that's very interesting. I'll tell you about my experience of stress very quickly. Um, I come from a very humble family, and basically I had to work very, very hard to just get anywhere in life. And for me, that meant on the day of my 18th birthday to create my first company. I literally incorporated it on the day of my birthday. But it also meant that by 21 years old, uh, I was literally sleeping at work. I had a sofa that would turn into a bed in the basement of my office. And I would go there and nap 3 or 4 hours, and then I would be back to work welcoming employees. And I did that for 7 years. So by 21 years old, I had already developed all kinds of health problems. I was eating on a 70 cents dollars and a 70 cents a day budget. So I was buying everything in bulk, eating a lot of ramen noodles, and not caring at all for my health. I was just work, work, work. And so by 21 years old, I had a health monitor attached to me that I used to carry as work at work as well to measure my blood pressure and so that I didn't die because I came pretty close. That's how much abuse I gave to myself. And that's sort of where I discovered meditation. Um, that's when I started practice. Well, I had heard about it years before. I had practiced a little bit and thought, oh, this is interesting, but like I don't have time to do that. I have to work. And there's a Zen saying actually that says, uh, meditate 30 minutes every day, unless you don't have the time. Then meditate for an hour every day. So it's sort of a little Zen joke, but it's also very true. And I did, obviously, like everybody, the complete opposite. So I just didn't care for myself, ended up being sick. With years, I think the abuse that I gave to myself transformed into a cancer, which I have vanquished. Um, but the consequences of stress on my life were huge. And even in the more mature part of my career, where I was handling stress well, I had like 4 houses in 4 different countries, and I would be pretty much traveling with the entire family everywhere around the world full time, working here and there. So that's been my life in recent years until I retired a few years ago, and now I work for fun, just because I've done it so much, I guess, in the past that it's natural for me now to just keep on going, and it doesn't really do much to me emotionally. Um, but I had to survive all of this to develop good mental hygiene and work on my sanity quite a bit. So I'm going to tell you today what I understood about stress and what science understands about stress as well. So stress, to make a very long story very short, is fear. It doesn't matter if you are feared, if you're fearing to that you'll still be in your dead end job 10 years from now. If you are fearing that you will lose your case in court, if you're afraid that you will not get things done in time or that you will not be able to attend your family in time, it's all fear, always. And fear is a very how could I call that? It's like one of the root feeling. It's a fundamental feeling of human beings. It's been hard coded and hardwired in us since creation. and it's our natural reaction when we perceive danger. So that's where stress comes from. When you perceive danger at work or in any situation, then your amygdala gets triggered into action, and you will either fight or flight or freeze or fright. Those sort of the four F's of stress there. So fight obviously is that you will decide that no, I can make it, I'll fight back and everything will be fine. Flight is when you don't show up or you procrastinate and push everything until tomorrow. Freeze is when you are stuck in, like in a state of hopelessness. Well, basically, you don't know what to do anymore. So it's not really that you're procrastinating, you just don't know from which end to grab the situation to solve it. And fright is sort of a more permanent state of flight. So you not only did you run away, but maybe you gave up the job entirely. Um, so it's not about just missing a day. It's about like I don't want. I cannot make it. It's that conclusion. I cannot. Um, so one thing that is very important to understand, and that is true for all of us, is that stress is physiological first and psychological second. You can imagine in your brain that there are two roads. One shorter road that leads directly to the amygdala, and one longer road that leads to your neocortex. So you use the neocortex to think, and you use the amygdala to react. The thing is, if the two cars are going on both roads at the same time, they will arrive to the amygdala first. So that's sort of the when you get spooked by a situation, right? It does something in your body, in your heart. Is it? Oh my god! Right? So that's the amygdala experience. And then, if you're good, if you have studied that stuff and really understand the stress phenomenon, then your neocortex can kick in and you can say, no, nobody's gonna die, everything's gonna be fine, I can make it, it's not bad, yada yada. You speak to yourself and you make it all better. So, but if you don't have those good mental and emotional habits, well, maybe you don't stop the amygdala, and maybe in fact the amygdala hijacks your system. And you're like, oh my god, heart, you're absolutely right, that's gonna be terrible, and this is gonna happen, and it's gonna lead to this and this and this, and I'm never gonna be able to stop it, and my entire family is gonna die, and the country will go bankrupt, and so on, to make it extremely dramatic in your mind. You can lose your sleep over that. You can, I guess, have pimples over that as well. You can experience all kinds of symptoms that are really self-caused. So in Buddhism, we learn a lot about perceptions and the way that the world is not really a hostile or nor a good nor an evil place. It's really the way that we look at it and interpret it that creates our experience of the world. And there is this fable of a man who's retiring in the forest to have a good time, but he's in a shack with no electricity. And at night he wakes up to take a pee, and he steps on a rope, and he becomes convinced that it's a snake. So all night he's hiding in a corner, ready to defend against the snake, and he cannot sleep, only to notice in the morning when the sun rises that he's been scared of the rope all night. This is what we do on a moment by moment basis in our daily life. We are scaring ourselves with ropes. But stress is necessary, right? It's our defense mechanism that nature gave us to defend ourselves against the world. And there are not only bad things from it, actually, it gives us superpowers. The very first thing that happens when you're under stress, and you will see why this is as good as it is bad, is that it turns off your immune system. Why does it do that? Is because it wants to reroute the resource, with energy as well. You are faster, more focused. You get an adrenaline rush. You feel less pain. Uh, think of yourself at work, and I'm sure you've experienced those moments. But the reason those reflexes exist is when we lived thousands of years ago in the savannah, and we were at risk of being attacked by a lion, right? So you saw a lion that looked angry, and you got scared, and you decided to run away. So you needed those superpowers to make it. Otherwise, You would have been just lunch. But the problem is that right now, because of our perceptions and the way we manage ourselves, we're sort of using our jungle reflexes in environment that are really non-threatening at all, or at least that are not life-threatening. Um, so these are self-preservation instincts that are legit. But what happens if you live in constant stress and your immune system is off all the time? What do you think the risk of that is?
Sickness and
Sickness.
death.
Sick.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So that this is what happens, and right now we're right in the middle of an epidemic, and we have this COVID thing going around. So if you are overworked and stressed and already sort of feeling shitty, well, guess what? You'll get COVID, and we see it. Why do older people die from it? Is because they have a lifetime behind them. Their body has been under stress. Their entire, they are damaged, and so they cannot defend against the virus. So when you're accepting to live under so much stress and you're not managing well, you won't be doing any better than a much older person. Um, the one good thing I would say that stress teaches us is that the only time that you can ever act is in the now. I don't know if you've ever had that big problem where all you can focus on is your problem. Like it feels like tunnel vision. Nothing else exists. It's like it becomes black. You can only see this thing or this enemy that you have. And so in this moment, there's a deep relation with the now. It's as if things start moving slower. It's almost like traveling in time. You are so focused. And that teaches you the importance of being here, right now. Otherwise, if you don't have that vigilance, anything could happen to you. Right? So that's a good thing of stress. There is sort of a philosophical lesson in it that sometimes we need to be present, but we don't need to be present in a way that is detrimental to our health. So we experience stress at work, at home. We can even experience stress in nature. There's another Zen saying that says, the Zen that you experience at the top of the mountain is the Zen that you bring. Meaning that don't try to become that uh, philosophical master, that old wise master, that old wise person that's sitting on top of the mountain. Climbing the mountain won't make you a sage or a wise person. Be wise and then climb all the mountains that you want, and you will bring your Zen with you everywhere you go, whether on the mountain, on the ground, or in prison. Nobody can trap your mind if you don't want to. So, common causes are when we perceive danger, but also facing the unknown, like a illness that we don't know what the outcome will be, like COVID, that causes a lot of fear and cause. But just facing change, like I don't know, you're changing school, you're changing jobs, you're changing neighborhood. That's also very tough. And one point that is very, very important for me in my practice is that I made a commitment long ago that fear should not rule my life in any shape, way, or form. I will not take that job because I'm scared. I will not avoid, leaving a bad partner or meeting a new one because I am scared. I won't shy away from something that looks awesome and scary, just based on my own illusions. Uh, if you are living and going through life and you're stressed, it means that you're scared. If you are scared, it means that you are in prison. You are living in a box that is 6 inches by 6 inches by 6 inches in your mind. This is what you are doing to yourself. So, my Buddhist practice, I often qualify as a way for me to reclaim my territory, reclaim the world, reclaim my entire, complete, wholesome experience of being a human being. There's so much fear on TV, on the internet, and in our exchanges with other people. Let us not let us not allow those things to get to us. And physical, emotional exertions, of course, they do the same as stress. They're called stress, I think, because the end result is the same. Your immune system goes low. It's just another form of abuse. And the fear comes afterwards. Now you've trashed your body and you basically feel like you're good for nothing. So then some fear might kick in and make it even worse. Um, a lot of us have this terrible, terrible feeling, which I think is the plague of humanity, of feeling insufficient. We might worry if we are worthy human beings, if we are good brothers and sisters, good mothers and fathers, good employees, good friends, good humans. And when we start comparing ourselves, we might feel like we're not making the cut, like we're defective. Is that a relatable feeling?
Yep.
Yep.
Been there for sure.
Sadly, it is. Sadly, it is. Sadly, a lot of us feel like it. And I don't have I guess, a great remedy to that, but I'll tell you this. I have never seen a cat who thought that he was not a good cat.
Yeah.
Cats are very full of themselves, so yeah.
We are animals that somehow went defective. We are animals that use alarm clocks to wake up in the morning. We are animals that impose themselves a completely crazy regimen. And when we're not complying to that completely unnatural structure, we feel inadequate. We feel insufficient. And then we live with crazy expectations like everybody should have a house and a wife or husband, a dog, and two cars in the garage, and they should have that sort of a job, and they should go to that place for vacation, and they should have studied here or there. Um, Luckily for me, I rejected that very early on, and everybody, was telling me, "Oh, it's impossible. You can't make it. That's not how the world works. The world will work the way you decide it works if you're free of fear. If you're willing to do what it takes, the world will help you and accommodate you." So it's like not only do we have our personal mythology and our own belief to manage, but our family believes certain things that we should do and should not do certain things. Basically, whenever you use the word should, look at it and there's a lie. Like, I should wash the dishes. Who says that? I know it's crazy when all your dishes are dirty and you have nothing to eat in, but practically speaking, you can still get paper plates. I've known some of them, my bachelor friends lived with paper plates for quite a while when they got separated. That works. You might say, "Oh, I should uh, work harder because you're working part time," let's say. But if that's enough for you, that's also a lie. So wherever you have a should in your life, look at it, and probably it's something that mom and dad told you, or the society told you, or school told you. We have constructed our personal system of myth that we believe about life. And it's so well ingrained that we think that this is us, right? When you're saying, "Oh, I don't know, like I'm a pretty easygoing guy," well, there's something in you that believes that you should be easygoing. And somebody that says that they're a perfectionist, there is something in them that demands perfection, not only of them, but of others. Yes, you want to say something? Yeah.
No, I was just saying that that's me.
Uh,
The
well,
perfectionist.
let me tell you that then being a perfectionist is actually being self-violent. It is inflicting performance anxiety to yourself and setting standards that you don't always feel like meeting, or that will cause a little bit of tension with the people around that cannot live up to those expectations. So it is divisive, and that's the thing with shoulds. they are divisive. They make us feel like we don't belong. So one big way to relate better with stress is to relate better with the shoulds. Like, I need to get that done by Friday, or I should do that by Friday. Well, question that always. What's gonna happen if you don't? And not don't trade the rope for a snake, but really what's gonna happen. And if you're not sure, try it. You'll see. um, it's like that. No, as kids, I think a lot of us fear the dark. And why do we fear the dark? It's because it's the end of the known. When I turn off the light, all of a sudden, as a kid, I don't know what's there anymore. I don't have a one-for-one picture of what was there in the room around me, and now any kind of monsters could be hiding in the closet and under the bed. But then what happens is that when you turn back the light on, then you see everything, and then the fear goes away. So it's exactly the same thing. If you're fearful of that new job, well, the best way to clear the fear is to try it. If it comes back to you, I mean, if it's one thing that you're considering for half an hour, don't make big life changes for it. But if you've been thinking about that for like 3 months, and then it's an option, and you should probably consider that pretty seriously. So stress manifests as high blood pressure, arrhythmia, headache, acid refluxes, ulcer, insomnia, anxiety, short temper. You have a bad day, you arrive home, somebody comes to you lovingly, you might bite them or bark at them just because you're not handling yourself very good at this moment. And as was pointed out directly in the middle of directly in the beginning of the session, it leads to eventually feelings of powerlessness. Because if you're stressed all the time and you're fearful all the time, it means that you consider that you're not making it right all the time. So what better recipe to feel powerless? And powerlessness over time, obviously, it will transform into depression because you will feel that you're living in vain. So we're most likely to suffer from stress when we didn't take a lot of time to explore ourselves. You know, we need to develop a sense of self-knowledge and self-acceptance, and of awareness of what we're going through in terms of emotions. Schools do not teach us to get in touch with emotion. They teach the intellectual stuff. They give us just general knowledge and culture, but they don't tell you how you should deal with a threat or with fear. Or in fact, they just punish you over it. If you're emotional in a classroom, you will be taken out of that classroom. So we are taught emotional suppression and repression always by everyone all the time. And so it is your responsibility to educate yourself in emotional intelligence. As a young kid, I guess it made me proud that I scored pretty high on IQ tests and stuff like that. And one day I took an EQ test, so an emotional quotient test, and I was a complete moron. I had like 62 in my emotional intelligence test. And it pissed me off. I said, "How this test is not good? How could it be?" But looking back now, I was a moron. I really, I really couldn't tell my emotions from my judgments back then. See, um, so it is. If you want, just go online, look for that EQ test. You'll find plenty. Some of them more serious than others, and have a look. Just see how you score, and that will give you an idea of how equipped you are to face the stresses of daily life. Um, if you've experienced traumatic experiences, maybe your experience of stress is PTSD. And there are great Buddhist tools that unfortunately I won't have time to get into right now, but I've been working with vets over the years, and I know that some tricks really can make a difference. Um, Bad life habits, also. Here's the pattern that most of us do. We are, let's say, at work or in whatever situation that doesn't please us completely. We experience fear in it. We experience displeasure in it. Then the week is over. We are looking for pleasure. So we either drink, use drugs, eat a box of chocolate cookies, or do something for fun, mindlessly. That leads in turn to addiction, obesity, and all kinds of health problems. And this is because also we are hardwired for a search of pleasure. Right? It's all about repulsion and attraction. It's all about fear and desire. So there is, if I'm constantly in touch with fear, I will be trying to find the desirable to compensate. So it's also good to be aware of that, that this is what you're doing. This is what I am doing on a Friday night. I am looking for pleasure. And if you think of the reckless parts of your life when you made bad decisions or bad mistake, when you cheated, when you uh, drove your car drunk, when you were probably at 2 hours before that, you were probably just looking for a good time. So this is another. And also, if you think life is so serious, learn to live and laugh in life. Learn to take it lightly. Because if life is so serious, then you have to be good, or so will you believe, and it will make it very difficult to not be stressed. So learn to relate a little bit differently with the ups and downs of life. So usually I like to do another little meditation session, but we won't have the time for that. I have 6 minutes left, so let me get into a bit of enlightened strategies for stress management and balance living. I'm just gonna give it to you guys as a block almost. So body wise, do not forget to rest, sleep, stretch, exercise, eat well, and cultivate good habits. So that would be the earth element. Anchor yourself in a good body. It doesn't matter how happy you are, if the body is destroyed, you're gonna die. And you won't get to enjoy that happiness and that bliss. For the mind, well, you've learned a little bit of mindfulness today, so practice that. Practice looking inside, looking deeply inside regularly. One strategy that I do is I set up a little meditation bell on my smartphone to ring every hour. And that's a reminder for me to look inside. Um, your brain is a tool and an advisor. It doesn't lead you. So don't make all of your decisions just based on intellectual criteria. It is a hammer. You wouldn't ask advice. Well, you wouldn't allow the hammer to lead the entire construction site, right? You use it as a tool. Um, then a thought is just a thought. There's a Zen saying that say it's okay. You know, you can think whatever you want. Just don't serve tea to your thoughts, meaning allow them to come and go. And you will notice that stress and fear and anger and desire, all of these, there is a sticky quality to these thoughts. When you're fearful, it's difficult to stop being fearful. When you are craving something, it's difficult to start craving it. So whenever you practice looking inside and you see that a thought or an emotion is sticking, try to let go of that. Don't serve them tea. And that is the writing on the water element. So your brain, your mind, your emotions should be like you writing your name on water. It leaves a trace and quickly disappears, and then it becomes mirror-like again. Emotions, learn to feel again. Accept that you are not perfect. Accept that you are vulnerable. Drop the armor. Accept imperfection. I know we've all been hurt before, and we don't want that to happen again. But maybe you won't be hurt as bad as you were before now. So start removing the armor one piece at a time and accept your fragile, frail human nature. Because you cannot be fully human without your vulnerability. Me, I had forgotten how to cry. It took me years of practice to reconnect with my emotions and be able to see something sad and bring a tear to my eye. And I know I'm not alone. So emotions are the element of fire. Keep the fire alive. Spirit, give meaning to your life. Yesterday, somebody was teaching, I think Elisa, in a conference, she was speaking about ikigai. So that's the Japanese system to do what you love, what is meaningful, what the world needs, and what people are willing to pay for. And that brings a lot of meaning, I feel, to one's life. So try and, yeah, ikigai. You can find it. IKIGGAI. Yeah. You can find that easily on the net. So enjoy being alive. Life will push you in all kinds of direction. It will pull you in all kinds of direction. Life is a dance like the wind. Love and fear cannot coexist. So when the wind pushes you, instead of being fearful, dance joyfully with it. If then 99% of the things we fear never happen. So know that, and also know thyself, as the Greeks advised. What's your thoughts if you are the anxious type and you cannot go to sleep at night because your mind keeps on spinning and spinning and spinning and you're afraid you're going to forget something? Keep a notepad next to your bed and write the things that you don't want to forget on it. The moment that you discharge the mind on paper or on the computer, or if you want to record your voice on the phone, you will be able to let go of those thoughts and reclaim your serenity. Get rid of your limiting beliefs. We said that already. Speech-wise, ask more questions. If you're scared about something, don't be shy to ask or document yourself. Go and see, as I says, the best way to shed light on the mystery. But also tell others how you feel if you're being pushed in one direction or another. If you never voice your concern, it is possible that people don't feel the same as you do about a certain theme. And if you don't warn them, they won't stop. They have to tell them. Be gentle on yourself and on others. And I will say something here that should govern all of us. Do not cause fear to others. I hope this came clear in this meeting how bad fear is for all of us. So the least we could do is to not cause it to others as we're struggling with it. So try to raise your awareness and see what causes fear in yourself and in others. Don't do that as much as possible. At least not consciously. That thing. Try to understand procrastination if you are into the habit of pushing things to the next day. It's probably just fear again. And basically know that you have unshakable peace deep, deep in you, and that you can access that not only on the cushion but at any time. So if you do that little practice that I was saying of, say, using a little meditation bell on your cell phone that rings every hour, well, the practice is this. When it rings, ask yourself, how am I feeling right now? And you can look at your body, at your emotions, at your mind, and just say, okay, now I'm going to take a little breath. I'm going to disconnect. I'm going to find my center again, and I'm going to carry on with my day. It's a practice that literally takes 10 seconds to do. And it will make all the difference into you coming back completely tired and destroyed at home, or you going through the day blissfully and joyfully. So I guess that's it for me today, folks. I'll make time for a few questions if you have some or commentaries. How did you like your session?
Very much so. This was my
Great.
favorite.
I
Thank
liked it a lot. This was
Thank you.
great.
Yeah, it was great. Thank you.
I will be coming
Very
back.
Yes.
For sure.
Fantastic work as always.
Because you hold these regularly, right?
Yeah, if you look outside this room, we put a poster next to the door, and that's the Discord for our Sangha group. So I teach classes every Monday. We have a monk from Sri Lanka that gives classes as well on Wednesdays. And we have three other meditation instructors that organize classes during the week, sometimes spontaneously. So, and we're getting better organized for 2022. So we'll be happy to have you. We're one big family. It doesn't matter how much experience you have, everybody's welcome. So thank
Well, I'll
you
keep
very
that in
much for
mind.
being there, guys. I really appreciate you showing up, and I hope that these little tricks will help you in your daily life.
Thanks, Sankey.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
Thank you, Zenki.
Thank you.
Pleasure. So just before we leave, it is customary in a Buddhist group to also dedicate the merit that we have accrued today to all sentient beings and to the world. So incorporate those strategies in your life, not only for your sake, but for the sake of a better world. And on this, I'll see you next time. Have a great life.
Thank you.
Sankey.